Welcome to the Pregame Show Network. It's your main man, Uncle Neely, checking in from Boulder, Colorado. Got Tolly Carr in the HBCU Game Day studio in Atlanta, GA, hopping on shortly. It's the Rewind, episode 41, I think. Man, we've been at this for a minute. Looking forward to episode 100. Be here before you know it. We're going to recap that victory over Colorado State down in Fort Collins on Saturday night. Talk about some other things going on programmatically, as well as let's look ahead to Baylor this coming weekend, which is going to be on the Fox network. That makes four nationally televised games in a row in the primetime slot for Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffs, coming off of the non-conference schedule with a slate of 2-1, 2 wins, 1 loss. Had the first win against North Dakota State, went on the road to Nebraska, took that L, went down to Fort Collins and gave out an L. And now we get into conference play in the Big 12 conference with the conference opener against Baylor at home. Y'all need to check in on the chat. Let us know where you are watching from. We're going to be taking questions from the chat as well when we get this episode going. Hope everybody's off to a great Monday out there, whatever time zone you're in. Might be Monday morning, might be Monday afternoon. Tolly Carr, HBCU Game Day, with the millionaire hoodie on.
What's up, Neely? How are you,
What's going
man?
on, brother? Doing good. Hey, I see the JSU helmet behind you. Shout out to my alma mater, my dear old college home, Jackson State. 5 wins in a row against rival Southern down Baton Rouge.
And
One,
and hey,
two,
you
three,
got another one coming up. It doesn't get any easier this weekend.
five. It's 5 in a row against Southern, Tyler. It's five.
It is.
Speaking of five, shout out Tito Jackson passed today.
Yes.
Jackson 5, one of the originals.
And I think what I think a lot of people woke up with today, Neely, or as they saw the news, just a little remorse for all the jokes that we sent to Tito. Look, when your brother is Michael Jackson, all right, that come on, man. Like those are hard footsteps to follow, even when you're the older brother. But I don't think Tito got enough credit for his ability to play the guitar, man. Like he could really hit those six strings, man.
Man, Tito was talented. And I don't know why, out of the four Jacksons remaining of the Michael or the rest of the family, why did all the jokes fall on Tito? Tito could dance, Tito could sing, Tito could play this, but all the jokes just fell on Tito. And Tito took it like a champ, man, was always in good spirits about it. Kind of like when I pick on Tolly Carr all the time when I go, BBL Tolly, BBL Tolly, eh?
You do. You do. Hey, look, I want to thank everybody for joining us. I've just had one of those moments, Neely. We were going to go on at 2 o'clock. I swear to God, I set up the stream last night, and then I get ready to go live, and I'm like, Neely, I don't see the stream. So I thought I set it up. You ever have one of those moments where you swear that, oh, you need a red cup. Where's your red cup? You need your red cup. So I didn't set up the stream, and then my IFB was acting crazy. I had to switch and find another one, and so it's just been an old man type morning for me, or afternoon. See, I don't even know that it's 2:30 in the afternoon on the East Coast. But let's get down to business. Shout out to everyone: Myra, Platinum Rose, Prime Sports Media, Mike Lover, NDTT. And they calling for Little Bucket already. We're not having that type of day. We're coming off a win, Neely. Colorado State, Fort Collins. You go on the road. As Coach Prime asked in his post-game press conference, I love it when he does this. How many times have they sold out? How many times? He already knows the answer. This is the first one. This is the first one. Okay. Give us the atmosphere. We watched it on TV. I struggled to find it, but I finally found it, and I was able to watch all of it. But what was it like there? A sellout crowd, a great deal of them wishing ill for the Colorado Buffaloes and their offense and defense.
Man, first, I always like to give a big hats off when we travel on the road and you have those teams with their home field advantage and they can really create that hostile environment. We talked about Nebraska and it's, 90,000 plus there in the sea of red and the noise they were making. Colorado State, much smaller venue, but when it comes to the passion of their fan base, the student section, the things that they do during game to disrupt the visiting team, hats off to them, man. I thought they did a wonderful job at that. I think there was a little bit too much outside the lines leading up to the game and even during the game from the fans. But as far as just their game day atmosphere, it can be a raucous and hostile place to play in. It was a rivalry game, in-state rival, and coming off the overtime last year, they felt like it was a game that they woulda, coulda, shoulda won, an idle moment, and so they were looking for revenge this year, and that revenge just didn't come because this defense is for real. Reminds me a lot of that Jackson State defense under Dennis Thurman, where it's just going to be hard for people to score multiple times, other than giving up a big play. This was truly, I think this final score was 28-9, but it felt more like a 35-3 game just all throughout.
Neely, the one thing I noticed, they started slow the first couple of series, but it wasn't one of those things where Colorado, it was slow the entire first half. I felt like this week they made whatever adjustments they needed to make exponentially quicker than they have in some of the other games early in the season.
Yeah, I sense that too, and I can't wait to get on the big boards with Coach Carl Reed and hear his analysis of it. That first quarter was kind of slow for both teams, some three and outs, inability to score. But when it's almost like a boxing match, filling each other out. When we got those two scores in the second quarter, you just had the sense then that the time that it was taking Colorado State to move the ball and actually not move the ball, and the way Colorado was able to score rapidly in fashion, you knew in the second half that the wheels were going to come off this thing if we kept that momentum going, which is exactly what happened. This defense, from North Dakota State, including Nebraska did not let up all the way through this Colorado State game. And of course, they weren't letting up. They were trying to pull off a comeback. This defense is proven in the second half. It's just about impossible to score on them. And the offense at any given moment, with the high power stretching the field, this wide receiver room, you give Shador Sanders just a split second more time, and he's gonna dice you up, man. He is surgical.
Neely, the thing that we all loved, run game. It was there, established early, and some long chunk yard runs. What were your thoughts on Colorado's ability to run the ball better than they have all year?
Well, we knew going into this game that there was going to be, based on the previous two games, more of an ability to run the ball successfully, and that's what happened. You were facing an opponent that they're stronger in the secondary than they are on the D line. When you were in Nebraska, you were facing the toughest D line that you're probably going to face all year, particularly with those two interior linemen who are certainly going to be playing on Sunday. So the goal was to make sure we could establish the run. And I tell you another thing that you had happen, Tyler. When you look at the stats at the end of the game, the past two games, particularly the past one game, Nebraska, when you have these sacks, that takes away from the rushing yards. So you would have, Dalen Hayden do a 16-yard run, but you don't see it in the stats. You see it in his individual, but you don't see it in the cumulative run stats because the sacks were taken away for that. You gave Shador a clean pocket. You were able to run the ball with dominance. And then when you get to the final tally of the game, because you weren't losing yards, giving up big sacks, you had a positive run game. I think Michael Welch, a true freshman, everybody gives Coach Prime the business talking about the overuse of the portal. We're out there on offense. You had a true freshman at running back and a true freshman at left tackle. When he recruits you to impact his team right now. And if you go through the process and prove yourself, you're going to be able to play in this game. And you saw Michael Welch having an outstanding day at running back as a true freshman out of Georgia.
Yeah, Michael Welch, 9 carries. He gained 68, lost 3 for a net of 65. Had that long 25-yard run. You saw Gustave, he had, 31 yards. Charlie got in there with 16, and Shador only losing 3 yards net in that game. But Neely, it just seemed like they were able to seal that edge and turn that corner. And I thought that was very gave you a lot of optimism about things to come.
Yeah, what you saw in that game and what the world saw in that game is what we see at practice, which is why even coming off the heels of Nebraska, we've still walked around with confidence. We know what we have. We know the talent. We know the depth. We know the coaching acumen, and we have seen it. Now it's just time to put it together in a game. And let me tell you something about Michael Welch back on that running game, and it might have been the -3 yards you're talking about. I thought one of his best runs was that run that he ended up getting tackled for a loss because the impact he made on the defender coming in and made that guy roll back 4 or 5 yards, and all he did was bounce back a couple steps and try to take it the other way. I think that more than his big runs shows you the dynamic determination, of Michael Welch. That play didn't net, positive yards, but just the spirit of that run to how he initiated the contact and the defender went backwards. It just shows what he brings to that running back room with that low center of gravity. Short guy, short in stature, but I mean it's almost like Easy E said, built like a tank yet hard to hit. Like he's going to be a phenomenal impact, and you're going to get Dallin Hayden back as well. The transfer from Ohio. So I think this running game is going to continue to hit its strides in the weeks to come.
All right, so people talked about balance. Needed more balance. In the post game, Coach Prime said, you guys only talk about balance if you lose. You look at this game, 49 pass attempts, 19 rushing attempts. You do the math. Is that balance? But when you're successful on the runs that you do have and you win on the scoreboard, people aren't talking about balance. And then I say that, Neely, to bring up our first comment from the chat. Good afternoon to Artemis Robbins, who says he did like the O-line better, and he's making a bunch of comments here. All right, here we go. Here's the one I wanted. Just more open holes. They ran less, but the holes were open. Anything to that, Neely? How does that strike you?
Yeah, taking that first part that you set it up for with that balance. I've said that week one, particularly week two. I don't think you go into this thing saying we're going to run 50 and pass 50. You just go with the opportunities. You take what the defense is giving you, and then you take what is successful, no matter what they're giving you. And I will always maintain, man, when you have Shedeur Sanders, who in my mind is the best quarterback in college football this year, and you have Travis Hunter, who in my mind is the best football player in college football this year, and you add in pieces like LaJohntay Wester, Jimmy Horn Jr., Will Shepard, etc., and this running game, you have to find a way, in the words of Coach Carl Reed, to keep the ball in the hands of your best three players, and that's the quarterback, Travis Hunter, and Jimmy Horn Jr. / LaJohntay West at this point. I don't think you go into a game saying we're going to run the ball 30 times. You take those opportunities when they come, but for the most part, this is going to be an offense predicated around the quarterback and those all-star receivers.
Will Shepard, we knew what he could do coming over from Vanderbilt, but Neely, I love the way they used him in this game. He had 7 receptions, 61 yards. He was just out there running, man, and Shedeur was really looking for him this game, or finding him.
Yeah, he was my pregame offensive player of the game. I expected him to have that quote unquote breakout game like Jimmy Horn had in week one. I see it in practice the way he can come down with those 50-50 balls. Had one that got away from him. I don't think he would have got an end zone, probably tackled about the 2. So that would have put him pretty close to 100 yards with that catch. But he and Shedeur, their chemistry is coming along. They worked out together in the offseason. Having played at Vanderbilt, that means he's playing against SEC defenders. So he knows how to battle his way down the field and get open, and most importantly, come down with the ball. So I think Will Shepard is going to be a name that you're going to hear more and more of as we get into conference play.
Let's see. We got some love here, Neely. We have some love for the tight ends. Someone here in the chat says, love the way they utilize the tight ends this week. How did you feel about the tight ends in the offense?
Yeah, I loved it. I saw a lot of it in practice. Sometimes rolling out there with a 2 tight end set, 12 personnel, and even utilizing them in the past. But Coach Prime has again made it clear, man. The tight ends jobs whereas we do have some schemes where they're going to be on the receiving end of the ball. They're in there for pass protection and for run blocking, and that's going to be their primary assignment. And then you get hit with the one you didn't see coming. That catch down the seam. They're taking for a first down and more. So the tight end room, has some talent in it. You got Smalls, you got Sam Hart, who transferred in from Ohio. It's going to be a moving component in this offense, and I think you're going to see more of them as again when we finally get into conference play, which starts with this next game. And I think you're going to see some different level of expectation from that unit being the tight ends.
All right. Thanks to everyone who's joining us here. This is the Pregame Show Network. This is the Pregame Show Rewind. I'm Tolly Carr in Atlanta, HBCU Game Day Studios. This is my man, Uncle Neely. Who you got on the hat there, Neely? Is that your Goonsville again this week?
Man, Goonsville again, man. Just open up another little swag bag over there. So I said, let me rock it today and represent the fellas. Had a Goonsville hat Saturday night at the game in BG. My man Gant linebacker, I looked up and he had it on. I just wasn't bad enough to take it from him, so I played like I gave it to him.
Folks, y'all help me out in the chat. Didn't I get some stuff back in late summer? Didn't the box come and had my name and some stuff?
They don't have to help you out, Tyler. It's right. If you can see around the studio I got it set up here, your package is right there. And I know every day it gets closer to you getting in your hands, including the day that I'm going to see you in October. So brothers don't mail nothing, man. We just had to live. I'm just bringing it with me.
Brothers
I
do
haven't
not.
opened it. I don't know what's in it. I don't know what they got for you.
Oh, I hope it wasn't edible.
It's
I
a
hope it
bulky
wasn't edible.
package. So and it didn't have no white powder coming out of it. So I think you're safe.
Boy, I mean, I got my stuff back in July. Neely has not hooked a brother up. All right, but my birthday's coming up. We'll get it just in time. But you can't claim.
Yeah.
Don't claim that's your present to me. Okay, those people sent me that stuff.
They sure did, and I will not do that. Now, my present to you will be my delivering it. That's my gift.
All right. Nicholas wants to know: did see you practice today? Was there practice today? What's the schedule like here early in the week?
Now, on Mondays is traditionally the off day. So there was a practice on Sunday. What Coach Prime does for the Sunday practice, if you played in 60% or more of the snaps, it is a light day. You're just, over there in shorts and stretching and treatment. If you played in less than that, it's a full practice for you because that's where the development comes in, giving guys some additional reps and looks at practice. So had that practice on Sunday, off day today. Tomorrow, you start out the morning with the scouting report. Go right to team meetings and practice after that, and you'll be practicing every day going into the game.
Neely, why did Colorado State talk as much as they did? That did not seem like a wise move to, poke the bear as a cliche. But look, it's expected that you want to win, that you really want to win, that you understand the stakes are high. But I'm thinking, kind of talk about what you do after you do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there is, you have this cliche in coaching, which to me is what it is real. You're either allowing it or you're coaching it. And so when you have a systematic behavior taking place on your team, you can't just distance yourself from it as a leader or a coach. It is what it is. So you're either allowing it or you're coaching it. And when I see two players, it's not like somebody ran up to them with a hot mic, and just pulled a quote out of them, and the media ran with it. This was two chairs sitting on the field with cameras on tripods. This was a organized press event, and you had your starting quarterback and starting receiver, just popping off at the mouth about the Colorado program. Man, had that been, Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders doing that, it would still be on the news. There's just a moving goalpost for us and what's allowed and what gets reported on, but other people just get to do what the hell they want to do, and they carved out a media space where they talked plenty of junk, leading up to the game, and didn't have the talent and the depth and the ability, coaching or player wise, to back it up, and it just showed. They were just overwhelmed from the get go, and they wanted to make this to be the social media team and the click team. When it was actually reversed, this was the team of talent, team of depth, the team of scheme, the team that was organized and ready to win, and that's why you had the outcome that you had.
I had no problems with the way Shedeur handled himself after the game. I feel like if you want to come for me during the week outside of the normal bounds of, hey, we want to win the game, like we all understand, what's kind of acceptable in competitive talk and game preparation. But I don't want to say this, Neely. I don't want to say this. I don't want to say this because it is so overused. But I'm going to say it anyway. You come for the king, you better not miss, Neely. And when you miss, you don't get a handshake.
No, absolutely not. A handshake is a semblance of respect, of mutual respect, of letting bygones be bygones, and we're moving forward. A handshake is a very positive thing. Well, if you don't approach me in a positive manner, why the hell would I shake your hand? So I don't have any problem with the way Shador handled that post game, because it's not like their quarterback came up and said, "Hey man, that was just me popping off all week, man. Y'all really did your thing tonight. Congratulations," and extended the hand. He just kind of reached out like I'm just supposed to shake your hand like we boys or something. You can't, like you just said, Tyler, shoot at the king and miss. And as Shador said when the opposing quarterback was walking off, you can't F with me. Like, you can't touch me. Like, this, our skill sets and control our offenses are totally different. You shot at me and missed. We not boys. I'm not shaking your hand. Peace.
Yeah, it is what it is. I did love Shador bringing in the offensive line. There was, some talk last week, and Shador said, asked how many times did Raiola get hit, which that is what it is. I didn't take that as him throw. Look, there's plenty of times he could have thrown his offensive line under the bus that he has taken a pass on 50, 11 times, right? So I didn't think that week was a big deal, but this week, just in case there was any confusion, the offensive line was there in the post-game presser along with Travis and Shador.
Yeah, and Dolly, you get it. It's cultural. You happen to be a black man, and you have black man ears, and you know what you recognize and when another black man is saying something. Shador Sanders had all year last year to throw his offensive line under the bus, and no one would have said a word, because the world would have said, well, they do deserve that. Here's a time when he was just simply asking for information purposes. How many times was the opposing quarterback sacked? Like, I want to know the number, and people took that as a diss to his offensive line. And so what he did is like, look, let me show y'all, beef between me and my line. I'm bringing him in this press conference with me. We cool, we straight. You're trying to make something out of nothing. But it was also a learning lesson for him, in that, you have to finish your thought. You can't leave it hanging for somebody to interpret what you're saying. You have to say what you want to say, and then add a little clarity to it, for a more European media, if you will. Because just like they took off and ran with somebody saying strapped, not understanding that's a defensive back shutting down a receiver, is not talking about guns. They took him asking, how many times the opponent was touched on the other side, as him criticizing his offensive line. That was just the furthest thing from the truth. You saw this line galvanize this week. All the attacks that they took, since the Nebraska game, all it did was bring them together, make them work harder, a tighter niche. And I would tell you, Tolly, when you look at the first three games last year, the first three games this year, two of those games against the same opponents, you can't even compare the sack numbers. I told you all summer long, this offensive line under Coach Phil Load holding his leadership was going to be exponentially better. 3 games in, they have proven that even with a bad game, they're still better than they were last year.
All right, let's talk about that. But first, we're going to take a little time out here, Neely. Not a commercial break timeout, but we're going to take a time out to read some Tolly slander that's in the comments. LT gives a long Tolly, why you looking like, R is optional. Why you looking like somebody had to drag you out of the bed and to work? No, 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 get it together. Where's the blazer? I can't please everybody, Neely. If I wear the blazer, then you're going to give me the business, right? Right? So I try to get my, Jack Tripper 1970s running jacket, my little Vans shirt that I ironed this morning, LT, at 5:30 when I got up. So, you just try to look like, every man talking sports, having fun, and they want the blazer. You wear the blazer, and people pick on the blazer. So,
see, here's they getting it twisted, Tolly. The blazer is for a guy who's trying to look like he got money. That zipper hoodie, that's for somebody who got money. I know you like Mark Zuckerberg. You got like 10 gray zipper hoodies in a row with the same pair, because you don't have time to waste on thinking about what I'm wearing every day, because that's how money moves. Money wears the same thing every day. Money ain't got time to try to look like it got money. Money know it got money.
That sounds good, and I hope that to be true one day. But the reality is, I got to get 3 kids out of the door by 7 o'clock every morning. I had to be on 2 Zooms by 10 o'clock, and I forgot to schedule this thing. And folks, it's just a miracle that I'm sitting here The audio's working. The lights haven't been turned off yet.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
let's be
yeah, man.
thankful.
It's we'll see. We got a couple of more days. Those bills work on 28-day cycles, so next week we probably do for a power outage if you don't put some on that extension.
But LT, we appreciate the slander. It makes for a good show. All right, let's get back. All right, so Neely, can we see that performance from the offensive line? Like, okay, I'm just going to keep it real here.
Yeah, yeah.
It's Colorado State, right? They got players. They practice. They send some kids to the NFL, but I'm not holding Colorado State to the same kind of image in my mind as Baylor and other teams in the Big 12. Is what we saw on Saturday, is that sustainable moving forward?
It absolutely is. I'm not gonna call the roll here, but you best believe this. I start with North Dakota State. There are teams in the Big 12 that North Dakota State can beat. There are teams in the Big 12 that Nebraska can beat. There are teams in the Big 12 that Colorado State can beat. You have to realize that the parity in college football through the transfer portal, everybody's got 45-pound weights. Everybody's got a cafeteria. They may not have a Chef Solomon. They don't have that, but they got food and they're eating and they're getting ready to play these games. And so you're going to run into talent, particularly the first quarter, and maybe after that when depth and scheme and those kind of things come into play. But I think what you saw against North Dakota State and what you saw against Colorado State is more the norm for this team from a talent perspective and expectation perspective. And I think even what you saw versus Nebraska, there were moments where we moved the ball. There was times where they were just shut out because of our strong defense. I think that translates and correlates to the Big 12 well. I'm never that guy who looks past opponents. I believe, as Coach Prime says, the goal is to go 1-0 each week. But I told everybody from back in the spring when the schedule dropped, the two games I was looking forward to the most was the Big 12 home opener with Baylor, and then the first Big 12 road game when you go to Florida for UCF. And I think those are going to be true tests and measurements of where this program is and when this program is headed. Because now you're into conference play and you're playing against people who have been there and done that. Even if this team is not that team, from an institutional standpoint and organizational standpoint, they've been there, done that. How do you stack up?
Neely, right now, I think I'd rather play Florida than UCF.
Florida or Florida State, like it is a struggle in Florida right now.
I think FAMU is the best team in Tallahassee right now. That's the way.
Ain't no doubt about it. That ain't no doubt about it, man. They are hemorrhaging over there. But college football, Tyler, is a quarterback league now, and the stronger the quarterback, the better your odds are. You add complementary pieces that the better your odds are, and the struggles you see with Florida State, comes from the man behind the center. Not to just dog him out, and then that ripples over into defense because you're not playing complementary football. You can't leave your defense, on the field that long because of inept offense. And let me say that as it relates to the Colorado State game, I think one of the biggest testaments about our defense, Colorado's defense in this past game, was that second quarter 8.5 minute drive that Colorado State did, but the result was nothing. And because this defense says, yeah, you move the ball, but you haven't scored yet. And so you want a three and out people, but the true measure of a defense is, did I stop you from scoring? And so Colorado State was able to put together a drive, converted a fourth down, if not two. But when they got to the red zone, wasn't no haps, walked out of there with no points. And so I thought that drive was one that really showed what this defense is capable of.
How about that Bentley? That Bentley that just drives right out the middle of that defense.
Man, he is a phenomenal linebacker. And now that you have paired him with Nikai Hill Green for the past two games, you really see what that linebacker core can do when you get the right pieces out there together. Uh, you know, Hats off to Travis Hunter, his interception. Hats off to Preston Hodge and his interception. But I want you guys to go back and look, and maybe we'll do it on the big boys, Tolly. I want you to go back and look what was happening with the defensive line and what was happening with the linebackers that influenced those turnovers.
And you talk about Travis Hunter, Neely. I think the best compliment you can give a cornerback is when he runs the route better than the receiver did.
Yeah, yeah. He ran it. He knew where it was going, and he went and got it, and then he got yards after that. Here's a guy who has been phenomenal on both sides of the ball. He has set a Colorado record. He is the first Colorado wide receiver to have 100 plus yards in the first 4 games. And so over 400 yards now in the season, doing the thing on defense with, with the interceptions. Uh, I don't know how anyone can say that this guy is not the best player in college football.
No, that it's. I think the announcer said it during the game. Like, we have seen players in the past, Charles Woodson and others, dabble on offense. Defensive players dabble on offense. This guy is playing, with the exception of one snap, and they gave him hell for that after the game, saying, "You don't get time to catch your breath. I need you out there." Shador told him. And to be dominant on both. I mean, not, good at one, really. I mean, dominant on both sides.
Yeah, and without skipping a beat, as like you said, one play missed, and while he's out there, he is impacting the play on offense. He's pulling the defense toward him, and which is freeing up somebody else. And on defense, he's taking away a quarter, if not a half, of the field. And then when you do try him, it's either the best case for you is going to be a pass breakup. The worst case is he's going to get that thing because he knows, the wide receiver routes and where everything is headed and how to get to that spot before you. And then his athleticism just turns on. You look at defensive wise, the play that Shador was mad about because he wasn't able to go on offense. Man, he ran that guy down from 40 yards behind and caught him before the goal line, and made a clean tackle on him. I mean, just whatever side of the ball he is on. And we've seen him take reps, at practice and special teams, and maybe that's going to occur before the season is over. Uh, Tyler, I know that the Heisman Trophy has a rich, rich history of not just going to the best player in college football, but the best player in college football asterisk who's coming from a team with a winning record. So these guys are not focused on individual postseason awards; they're focused on winning games. But should that not be the case, Travis Hunter is going to be on that front row in New York City at the Downtown Athletic Club because regardless of team record, you can't just deny his individual impact in college football as the best player.
I mean, when the end of the season gets here, and, it'll get here when it does, I would have to see the resume of the player that is considered better.
Yeah.
It would have to be a hell of a resume.
I haven't seen it 3 weeks in. Well, count week zero. I haven't seen it 4 weeks in.
We'll see. We will see, but that is going to be hard to beat. Let's talk about some of the other guys. In the absence of Shiloh Sanders, Cameron Silvin Craig, DJ McKinney, some other guys out there.
Yeah, Carter Stockmeyer.
Yeah.
You know, I know they say, "Oh, Neely, you're supposed to say that you're an inside guy." I'm an inside guy. Not to sugarcoat and not to dance around things or mislead. I'm an inside guy to report the facts. And I've said all summer long how deep this defense was, particularly the secondary, and how even though Travis has been out there on all these plays, you really have a defense now that you can move Travis around or even sit him as if necessary, because you have talent there. Preston Hodge, DJ McKinney, Cameron Simon Craig, who came from Jackson State with Coach Prime and was in Coach Prime's Truth League as well, or at Trinity as well. And then you look at Carter Stockmeyer, whose father played with Coach Prime and Coach Mathis with the Cowboys. Like, these guys know ball, they love ball, they know how to get to the ball, and make some great things happen. So as Shiloh Sanders, who is a vocal leader and just hard to place out there, probably even impossible to replace, as he heals up and makes his return in the coming weeks, this secondary is going to be just fine and keep rolling. And can't wait to get him back for, if nothing else, that emotional leadership.
All right, I asked you this last week. Some people in the chat, what's up to the 760? We might close in on 1,000 today in the chat. Kicking game. We saw Mata miss. We love to say Mata don't miss, but Mata did hook one this week. Had one blocked the previous week. Any concerns? Are you still confident in the kicking game?
Very, very confident in it, and more importantly, Mata is very confident. Had talked to him right after the miss, and he was like, "Man, my bad. Like that won't happen again." People have been criticizing the low trajectory. That one wasn't low. It got up. He just pushed it to the right, I think it was. But if you look at what he did, on the extra points, none of them were shaky or close to being blocked whatsoever. And even Mate, who is just a profound punter, preseason Ray Guy Award watch list. He shanked that first one, something uncharacteristic of him. But if you look what he did with the rest opportunities, they were inside the 5. And so I think that, what you saw Mate do in putting one out of bounds and Mata do with the miss is more of an anomaly than it is what they're actually capable of. And if you look at what they accomplished last season and in their careers, the numbers just bear that out. You have much more success with them than you have that head scratcher. So they're going to stay out there and keep performing. And pregame, Feely was nailing 60 yarders, and I think all except for one kickoff didn't go to the back of the end zone. So the kicking game from Feely, from Mata to Mate, I think we're in good position.
All right, Neely, I hope people watched the post game presser. And I hope you noticed that part where there was some noise in the background. And Coach Prime didn't like it, and he brought it up not once, but twice. Now, when I shared my story of my very first meeting with Coach Prime and how it didn't happen the way I wanted it to happen because there was some noise going on that I couldn't control, and I said, in a positive way, not in a negative way, just in a matter of fact way. I said, "Hey, Coach Prime, Coach Prime, he's a little, quirky with things. He doesn't like these outside noises during interviews." And I was assaulted, Neely. I was assaulted. So I want you all to go back and just tell me if the man's particular or not. And there's nothing wrong with it. It was just stating it. But I'm glad it played out so people wouldn't think I was just making stuff up, Neely.
Oh, you absolutely weren't making it up. Outside of Deion Sanders, I'm the only person that was there for both of those events. I was standing there when he told you, man, let's do this later, and kept his word. And I was standing there to the side when he questioned what that noise was. He understands messaging, Tolly, and he understands that any confusion, could water down the message, could hamper the message getting out. And these press conferences or interviews are designed to get the message out. So if there's noise going on or some kind of disruption going on, we're going to take a moment and wait on that. And if we can't wait on it, we just do it another time. A couple other things you saw in that press conference, particularly when you watch on the pregame show network, because I love showing, who's asking the question and who's in the room. There was a brother in the room, and Coach Prime not only called on him, but called him brother because he was the only brother in the room that was asking questions. There was a younger reporter in the room, and Coach Prime and his question said, "Man, how old are you?" And he said 19. He said, "Man, I want to give you a one-on-one. Y'all set that up. Like if he wants a one-on-one, he gets it." He does the same thing with female journalists. He makes sure the first question comes from one of the female reporters because those rooms are often dominated by men and then often dominated by white men. And so he's going to go out his way to recognize black journalists, to recognize female journalists, and to recognize young people who are trying to get into journalism. And if there's any distractions or disruptions to that, because he's in charge, he's going to stop it and get it fixed.
And he cut the very first question was a guy I watched another I didn't watch your version, but I watched another version, and he cut him off. He was like, "No disrespect, but we have traditions and practices here,"
Yeah.
and the young lady was able to get her first question in.
And then he went right back to that guy. The only
Yeah.
thing that rubbed me wrong about that guy, and it rubs me wrong about all journalists, particularly ones who I know damn well don't know him. You don't go to University of Alabama press conferences saying, "Hey Nick, I got a question," but this calling him Deion instead of Coach or Coach Prime, it just, man, you don't get me started.
Yeah, I have friends, Neely, who are younger than me, or people, friends might not be the right word, but, people I've covered, and I'm old enough to be their uncle. And, when they get a coaching job, I'm older, but I still say, "Hey, coach, whatever, whatever." I have a good friend, a high school friend who's a coach. Now, when it's just me and him, I'll call him by his first name. But if I'm in a public setting, it's, "Hey, coach," it's,
Absolutely.
is what it is. All right.
It's called Tyler. It's called professionalism. It's called respect for the position. And even if you don't have a lot of respect or any for the person, you respect the position, you respect the room, you respect the environment, and you respect your integrity as a journalist. And so you should refer to people by their title or by their title and the last name with it, or whatever they say they have been preferred to be called, which in this case is Coach Prime. But to continue to call this man Dion like y'all cool or something. You even hear from fans like when we're walking. I don't care if it's through campus or out of town or even in stadiums, and people want an autograph. Let me tell you who ain't gonna get an autograph or a picture. I don't care if you're a kid or grown. Say Dion. You, you ain't get you ain't getting nothing. If you say, "Hey, Coach Sanders," "Hey, Coach Prime," Mr. Sanders. And then say, ask him how he's doing instead of just say, sign this or can I get a picture. If you make it a pleasant exchange, man, he is more accommodating than people realize. But if you just sitting there yelling Dion and you 9 years old, they're like, come on, dog. Like,
You,
raise your kids better.
you know what I would love to see? I would love to see this. I would love to see Samuel L. Jackson say Dion again, with some
What?
extra words in there.
English, MF, do you speak it?
That would be awesome. That would be
uh,
awesome. All right, let's talk about Baylor, man. I think
let's do it.
we got through the Colorado State game. What are you thinking? What type of challenges does Baylor present? What type of vibe are you anticipating? Just your Monday thoughts about this weekend against Baylor.
Well, it's a conference game, man, and it's the first conference game. And we have said all along that the goals for this season, for this program, for this year, were to one, get Miss Peggy to a bowl game. That takes 6 wins, and then to two or 1A is to make it to the Big 12 championship, and that means you need to win every damn Big 12 conference game that you can, particularly the ones at home. And what do we have as our first Big 12 game? It's a home game. And so you're in your environment, you're in your team hotel, you're in your apartment, you're in your cafeteria, you're sitting in your locker. You have everything in the world going for you that you're not doing this first conference game on the road. I think you also have to acknowledge that Baylor wears it as a program that's produced a championship year and a program that has produced a Heisman Trophy winner. That those guys aren't on this team. That you have to look at who you're playing against, not the historical nature of a particular university and what they may have over you. What does this team, from a talent perspective, from a matchup perspective, present for you? And I think coming off that Nebraska loss and the growth after that loss through this Colorado State, and then the rhythm that you now have going to this week of practice, I like our odds, Tolly. I'd much rather be facing Baylor or any Big 12 opponent as the first conference opponent at Folsom Field than on the road.
Neely, one thing I like, just going back to the Colorado State game and maybe projecting this forward, and I could be wrong. I don't have stats to break this up. I'm just relying on my memories and my emotions. I felt like this last game, Colorado didn't need as many big chunk plays, like, those long passes to Jimmy Horn Jr. I felt like the drives were more methodical, the way they worked the ball down the field. And maybe that was just the introduction of, or the more success with the running game, if you will. But that gave me more confidence that, it doesn't always rely on the big play, that, it's not the home run, that there's, singles and doubles pushing the ball downfield.
Man, you took the analogy, right out of my mind. That's exactly what it is. That the goal in baseball is to win. They say chicks dig the long ball, and so you want to put one in the upper deck when it's presented to you, but you don't just sit there and swing at home runs all day long. The other goal is to get on base and move bases around and control the game. It's the same thing with football. You want to methodically go down the field. You want to be able to milk the clock, but you're not going to sit there, Tolly, and have a dynamic quarterback and his arm and accuracy and have a one-on-one matchup on the outside with a Will Shepard or Travis Hunter on one side, or see LaJohntay Wester breaking free on a slant and not take it. One thing that you'll look at, even with the plays that have been quote unquote home runs, they may have been just 20 yards in the air and it was 60 yards of running after that. This offense is designed to just go to where the read is and go to where the defense matchups is telling you what the read is. So when you have a quarterback like Shedeur Sanders, when he's coming out of the huddle or looking to the sideline for the signal, or he gets to that 15-second mark and the headset cuts off in his ears, he's probably eliminated one or two of the routes before the ball is snapped, just on how the defense is set up. And so then the rest is reading and waiting for someone to turn loose. You take, for instance, the pass that he threw slightly behind Will Shepard. One of the things that you could do with Shedeur is you can ask him, what did he see there? That ball looked like it was behind, and he said, "Man, I didn't have a choice but to throw it behind, because if I threw it 2 yards in front of him, he was going to get beheaded because the defense was running at him." So there are times he sees things that we don't see from a quarterback perspective, but his accuracy is going to take you where the play needs to be. So whether that is a home run or dinking and dunking it down the field, you can get both of them all game long for Shador because it's just going to be based up on matchups.
He had a redemption throw that I loved. It didn't go for anything spectacular, but he was on the left side hash and he threw it all the way across the field to Travis Hunter. It's more of the throw is so far in the air going sideways more than it's going forward, and it reminded me of and I think it was actually longer than the pick six that he had against Nebraska, right? Yeah, against Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like that was like, oh yeah, let's get the bad taste out of our mouth on that throw. It's a very tough throw, and they
Yeah, it
ran
is.
that one to perfection.
Yeah, it is. To anybody who would listen, I was talking about Travis and Shador from spring ball across the summer, and how not only this team got better at each unit and position, the best people on the team got better at what they do. Travis put on 17 pounds of muscle and didn't lose any speed. Now his body is built from a stamina standpoint to play both sides and take hits and even give them. And Shador's lower body strength with his speed is increased, but his arm strength is increased, and he didn't lose any accuracy with it. And I think in the games that you've seen so far, including the loss, he's shown just that he is throwing at a more accurate pace and pitch than usual, and has not lost accuracy when the ball is going further downfield.
All right, the chat is wide open. We got a lot of people. It kind of delves into just side conversations, and they're kind of having their own show in the chat. There's people in there promoting their YouTube page. I mean, hey, do your thing, man. You got 738 people that might be reading
Hey
about
man,
your
in
YouTube
the
page.
words of Deion Sanders, aka Coach Brian, shoot your shot, baby. Like shoot your shot. Like put it out there. Go ahead. That's
I,
and Usher said it best too. That's what it's made for.
uh, Johnny says I sound like Tom off of the Boondocks.
Tolly, there's a little bit of truth to that. There's a little bit of truth to that. And I just gave a
Which
Usher
which
reference.
character is Tom? I've
Tom is the district attorney. That's the neighbor on the Boondocks, married to the white chick. You're not married to a white chick, but
now my
Tom
wife would kill me.
yeah. My wife would kill me if I was married to a white. Yeah, I get why she would do that, Tyler. She was because she's your wife. But yeah, you and Tom have a similar vernacular.
I've got to go. I've got to go. I've seen a few episodes of the Boondocks. I know what it is, but I don't. What's the guy with the? What's the main funny guy on the?
Oh yeah, see, that's what they don't realize. You might sound like Tom, but you act like Ruckus.
he is he is hilarious. He is hilarious. All right, I'm gonna go home and check that out, Johnny, and I'll let you know next show if I agree with you there. Uniforms. People were talking about that earlier. What has the swag been like for you so far with the unis and the helmets? And do you have for whatever information you can divulge, Neely? Do you have some dates looking forward to where you're like, oh yeah, that's going to pop when y'all see that? It's going to be right.
Yeah, I think so. As a matter of fact, I would say one of these Big 12 games, the first two, whether it's the one at home or Central Florida, you'll see a combo or something you haven't seen before. And then I think when you get around, for instance, those kind of Veterans Day games, you'll see some military stuff you may not have seen before. But the rest of this season being conference season, I think you're going to definitely see some pieces that are going to be like, oh, okay, swagtastic, swagtastic.
Is Coach Prime trying to catch up with you in the beard game?
Man, I got to tell you, we didn't have a true wager on it, but with some other fans on another platform, the wager was he's going to cut the beard before the first game. And I was going up, based on my previous 4 football seasons with him, I said he certainly would, and he has not cut it as of yet. He still has the beard. It's of course much lower than mine and doesn't have the hints of black left in it. But he's been rocking the beard strong, man. Will we see it all season? Is the question.
I thought it was like a because he had the he has a sponsorship with a razor
Uh,
company, right?
Gillette.
Gillette. I thought he was growing it to like do some promotional thing and it would be gone like before the. But I have been surprised. I think it looks it's nice and smooth.
Yeah, this is the longest I've seen him with it. I've seen him do them in the off season, or during the spring ball. But this is the longest I've seen him rock the beard, man. So I'm done betting on it, man. Who knows? We might go all the way with this thing this year.
All right, but he has not spoken on it. It's not. It doesn't. It's not holding any like special thing. He's just growing it.
Yeah, it just is what he's a vibe guy, man. Same thing with the uniforms. He lays them out on the floor, all the way with the shoes turned to the side. And so right now the vibe is just the beard, and he's keeping the beard.
Leon says y'all are trying to look like ZZ Top.
She got legs. She knows how to use them. Man, I remember ZZ Top, man.
If ZZ Top had been a bunch of brothers with long beards, what would they have been called instead of ZZ Top?
BB Bottom.
You and the BB. You.
I was gonna say N Bottom, but I thought I'd go with black, but.
Oh God. The basement wants to know: do you hide any Snickers going into on road games? Do you hide any Snickers in the beard?
No.
Any contraband? Any contraband ever been slid into the beard?
No, it's not firm enough to hold anything. I don't have the texture that will grab and hold something. It's kind of free flowing here.
All right, people want to know. We're here
Yeah,
to.
people gonna get that. Tyler, how many we got in there right now? What we still hovering around?
691 right now. I find
So
that.
still around 700. Shout out to those 700 been watching live, and the rest of folks who will catch it unlive later on. Man, one thing we gotta do, Tyler, we gotta hit that button to whatever preserves the live chat for the people who watch it later, because the people who watch it later, they miss out on all the action.
I know we're just like saying things, and they don't know what it is that we're actually referring to. All right, this is the last one on your beard. Big 216 Teasy says no snacks, but you have definitely dipped your beard in your soup before.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I keep a little comb too, man. Not only just dipped into the soup, man. You manage to get a little crumb in it. If nothing with some weight, you're not gonna get a whole skittle to sit up in there or a now later or something, but you're gonna get some crumbs now.
Oh God. All right. What was the mood, Neely? Could you feel a tangible lift in the aura of the offensive line, or were they just like, that's what we were supposed to do? We were just doing our job.
Absolutely. And if you go to Pregame Show Network, we posted it this morning. It was in the members only section last night. It opened up for everybody this morning. It's called Coach Prime in His Own Words, where we put together all of his team remarks, for the game, pregame, during the game, and post game. And, the offensive line in totality got the game ball. And it was something you saw taking fashion all week. These guys were beat up on. I would say unfairly, but even if you thought fairly, they were beat up on, they were criticized, they were pert near crucified just off of one game. No one wanted to talk about the success of the nearly 500 plus yards in total offense from week one. They just want to beat up the O line about the week two in Nebraska. And I think, as Coach Pat Shermer said, that loss was going to be one of the best things that ever happened to us, because it brought us closer together and allowed us to address some things and fix some things internally. And you saw the result of that fixing and effort and coming together, in Colorado State. And I think that no matter what transpires in the weeks to come going forward, that this team, particularly the offensive line, is closer than they ever been before.
Neely, your boy, Coach Phillips. Somebody bumped him, or they got him upset in the pregame. How's he doing? Somebody in the comments wanted to know how's he doing.
Yeah, doing good. It's about the business at hand. You saw how good he's doing. You saw what his receivers did, and so he's doing pretty good. I was told, I wasn't with him when it happened, that when he was going around the field with Coach Prime, that one of their opponents bumped him or something, and then he had a conversation, which I did not hear. I just saw the video of, with their head coach, and it appeared to be, a spirited conversation with a lack of audio. But nevertheless, whatever happened, you saw what it made LaJohntay Wester do. You saw what it made Travis Hunter do, and you saw what it made Will Shepherd do. So just like when their quarterback came off the sideline and told Travis Hunter he was too little, it's just some people you don't want to poke, man. Just leave them alone. So I would say, to Coach Jason Phillips and to the wide receiver room, to the opponents in the future, might not want to poke them. Might not want to poke them.
It did not work out well. Other people asking about Omarion Miller. I didn't ask you about it last week. His name is coming up.
Yeah.
Is it just a lot of competition in the room?
Yeah, it's one ball, man. Omari got in, and he had one thrown to him, right toward the front pylon for a touchdown. Wasn't really a catchable pass. Shadur may have been under some duress at that time, and so he's going to get more and more reps. Everyone remembers that breakout game he had as a true freshman last year. He's doing his thing in practice and looking well. And it's just sometimes when the offense is rolling and Travis is taking attention on one side, you may be on that same side as him, and the ball goes the other direction. But O got a couple of looks during this game and had one thrown to him toward the end zone. I expect him to be another one of these guys, much like Will Shepherd, that breakout game is going to happen, and it's going to happen now in conference play.
When you look at position groups, is that room the most competitive, the wide receiver room?
I would say yes, and slightly behind it or tied with it would be the DB room. When you look at the what we have in this secondary, including the safeties, not just the corners, and you've seen it with people going down. Cameron Silverman Craig, had an injury in week one and didn't play most of that game, and quote unquote wasn't missed. You look at Shiloh getting the arm break and what happened in this game without him. I would say the secondary room, from a talent and depth perspective, really equals what comes to the table in that wide receiver room, and they bring the best out of each other. Every day in practice. Sat down with Carter Stottmeyer for a piece on him, and he talked about how he loves going up against Will Shepherd because they're both two big body receivers and cornerbacks, something you don't get a lot of matchup wise. They're going to continue to iron sharpen iron, bring the best out of each other. But it's also what Jay Field, it's a room that you need depth in, because hamstring injuries happen. Ankle injuries happen at that position, and then you need them receiver and cornerback. You need them for gunner positions on special teams. So guys are going to get their opportunities. It's still early in the season, 3 games in the book. Got all the conference play in a bowl game to go. So you're going to be hearing more and more names, getting interceptions or touchdown passes from this team.
All right, Neely. Somebody, I'll scroll past it already, but you mentioned this earlier in the show, but I want to give you another chance as we get to the closing minutes here. Somebody wanted to know your thoughts. They missed it earlier on Jackson State and Southern, so feel free to have another little moment to brag here.
Oh man, they missed it. It's at the top of the show, so go back and replay it. But here it comes again, because I started off the show as I think Tolly was coming from the restroom or something. I had to start the show off. He was making some coffee or donuts. I don't know what he was doing. But I started off the show with hats off to my alma mater, the I love dear old college home, Jackson State University, with this one, two, three, four, five. 5 in a row now over Southern Baton Rouge. Hats off to TC Taylor's staff and the players for getting that done at the vet in Memorial Stadium in Jackson. You even had the Southern player post game press conference saying, "Hey man, I ain't never beat Jackson State. Like it's been 5 years now." I think that's 4 regular season and the SWAC championship is the 5. Because I think we played them back to back one time with Coach Prime, where you had them kind of finishing the regular season and then you played them again in the SWAC championship. Nevertheless, 5 in a row over your rival.
Well, TC has them looking good, buddy. They're going to have a tough test this weekend. We got Grambling, so
Yeah. Because you got essentially right now a 3-way tie in the East, huh?
they're playing, but they're non-conference games. So the one this weekend was non-conference, but still, bragging rights.
Yeah.
All the same.
Yeah. So when you get into having to go to the Alabamas and still got FAMU to come, that's going to set the table for who represents the East in the SWAC championship.
Yep. Good stuff, man. It is good stuff. You got one of your frat brothers in here. Let's see. His line name is Sweetie Cool. He's a Kappa Fall 92. He wants to know, Neely, how comfortable do you feel with CU's offensive line handling stunts?
Feel real good about it. We got the athleticism and the movement to handle it, and probably more important, the communication. Particularly now that you have moved Tyler Brown next to Jordan Seaton, so now you got your most experienced offensive lineman who came from Jackson State, had to sit out last year because his waiver wasn't approved, but still your most experienced offensive lineman right next to the freshman, and so that communication that's going to take place there you just really can't put a price on. So I think this line is talented enough. They have the speed to push and pull and get around things, and communication is key. They certainly have the relationship to communicate, and they can handle what's going to come at them.
Let me tell you, there's some serious smoke going on in the comments right now. I'm not going to pick on a college kid, but y'all are funny with the 695. I just wanted to acknowledge that y'all are funny. You can be mean if you're funny. Y'all are funny. I wanna let that part stay in the comments. Somebody wanted to give you a shout out. They want to meet you, Neely. They're coming up from Houston. They said they'll be there for homecoming. And they hope that they're going to meet Uncle Neely. And I totally lost the name. But look out for some fans from Houston that'll be on the way for homecoming there to Colorado. When is homecoming, Neely?
It's Baylor.
Oh, Baylor is God,
yeah.
this early? This early?
Yes, this but Tolly, it's early, but it kind of fits. Hell, we've been on the road twice. you know,
I don't
so
believe in any homecoming season until October gets here. A
yeah,
September
no, it's
homecoming.
homecoming coincides. Great segue with the question from Houston. Homecoming for CU coincides with the opening of the Big 12 conference play. So when Baylor comes to town, they're in town for homecoming.
What is the so at Colorado? Is there now you see it right behind me? I come from a different space. Is there a homecoming concert at Colorado?
I have to tell you, Tolly, I'm more immersed in the football side and Coach Prime's guests when they do their concerts. I don't know like what the Student Government Association, does as like what would correlate to say Jackson State or HBCU kind of homecomings. The football program, man, like it ain't homecoming week for us. It's Big 12 conference opening week for us. So whatever the hell is going on campus, I wouldn't be able to tell you. I don't see it.
Do you has there been a any announcement on the friends of Deion Sanders that'll be there, or is anything coming? Do you know anything?
None that I could divulge right now, but by the time we
Oh,
do
so
the second rewind this week,
you just can't tell.
we gotta get closer to game day before I can talk about the BET awards on the sideline.
Excited though, or with what you know that you can tell us, are you excited about the information you are right now keeping to
Yeah,
yourself?
I would say excited is a good word, but I'd also say, that you have to be careful when you call things normal because it's something that you shouldn't get used to. You should always appreciate it. But I think people who've been here for games, or also people who've seen the sidelines on TV, you know what to expect. Like what happens when there's a home game, and we're getting to that. We have gotten to that stretch of the schedule now that every other game is a home game. So as this winning continues and the arrow continues to point up, there's going to be more and more visitors as the year goes on.
Okay, it was Shannon Fields. Shannon reminding me that it was her who said she will be in the house from Houston. Chasing God says he has sent you a sweatshirt through Coach Prime. Chasing God, if you sent me a sweatshirt, also, I have not seen it because Neely is hoarding all of my mail from July to this point. So,
And that part is accurate, but it's in a safe place. And I would say to anybody that wants to send anything, whether it's to me, Tolly, or to Coach Prime, because the school address can get convoluted. Like that mail room is deeper. People sending Coach Prime stuff, so he gets it, but like eventually gets it. If there's something direct you want to happen, just email Uncle Neely at thepregameshow.com. Uncle Neely at thepregameshow.com, and I'll give you the best shipping address to make sure he gets it.
all right, there you go. Look at that. The direct, he is the connect, Uncle Neely. Michael
Hey man,
Welch.
I gotta tell you now. I
Yeah.
gotta tell you, Prime himself will tell people I'm the plug. But there's some days when I check the mail, there's so much stuff for him and none for him. I mean, so much stuff for him and nothing for me. I'm like, I'm finna stop giving people the address. Like you got where's the delivery fee? Like throw something in the bag for Neely. Don't just don't just send this one X shirt for him. Like put some more X's on there. Like can I get something for dropping the package off?
You have to respect the plug. People, we know how this operates. You have to
That's what I
respect
thought,
the
man.
plug. I was
I grew up west of West Street in Jackson, Mississippi, and west of West Street, man. You got to remember the plug. You can't just use the plug. You got to remember the plug.
I was on a job this weekend and we had a little breakfast, little production meeting, and they introduced this young lady and they said she is the one that handles the finances and writes the checks. Now she isn't the boss. She wasn't in charge. She didn't say anything. But you better believe I went right over there. Hey, how you doing? Good. Can I get you anything? Because right now you are the most important person in the room. Because when I'm looking for my money,
Exactly. She's on the administrative side, the processing side. It could sit on her desk 3 weeks or sit on her desk 3 hours. Just depends on how you treat them.
oh, woo, and buddy,
Speaking of Tolly
that
Car,
brings back some nightmares. Yeah.
speaking of Tolly Car, we ain't gonna get out of here without shouting out HBCU Go, which was sponsored by P&G Procter and Gamble. Y'all were at the Southern Heritage Classic. UAPB versus Tennessee State. Man, I loved the platform, the staging, like it was real deal production. And my man Tolly Carr was there holding it down. The remnants of the hurricane passed through, but it didn't shut down any of the activities. Y'all did a hell of a job representing the brand, man, and taking that thing full scale.
Well, thank you for that, sir. It was actually the biggest production that I've ever been involved with. There was like, here's a number that District Attorney Tom would like to share with you from the African American community. There was 5011 people working on that production, Neely, and 5011, and
Yeah.
5011 can be anywhere between 100 and 5011. It was a huge production, and man, they took such great care of us, and kept asking me, "Was everything okay? You got what?" I said, "Look, guys, look, Neely, right now, I'm directing the show. I'm running audio. I'm talking to
Yeah.
people in the chat. I had to say, we do it all around here on my normal black job, right? But on this black job, I was well taken care of and valued and treated well, and it was a fabulous experience. So thank you for that shout out there. We're going to do some more this year, so be on the lookout for that. But a whole lot of
Hey
fun.
man, I got 2 bye weeks. If you ever need me, I'd love to come work on one of your black jobs.
Man, it's funny. I was thinking while we were there, we had this big stage set up. We had the jib, we got all these cameras. I was like, man, imagine a pregame show on the pregame show network, and we had all this stuff. I was like, that would like really, really be the thing. But right now,
One day, brother, one day.
yeah, we are getting there for sure. All right, we try to go an hour and get out of here. About 800 people hanging out with us. I want to take one. Leon says he must be Jamaican with all them jobs.
Oh no, Tolly got some jobs now. Tolly got some jobs.
Leon, I got children, baby. They all live with me. They're not scattered out. I have children, and they need stuff. My wife is half Jamaican, so I'm married into a Jamaican family, but I myself am not Jamaican. Before we go, shout out to Mo Williams at Jackson State. His son, Mike Williams, a 3-star, 4-star, depending on who the rankings are, but the number 2 basketball guard in the state of Mississippi. He is committed to play at Jackson State. He has a younger brother 1 year behind him, who has an offer from Jackson State. But I am digging the vibes that I feel coming. Another iconic player, Mo Williams, an NBA champion, an all-star. Looks like he's going to have, one, maybe 2 of his sons there. It's giving me those Deion Shador Shiloh vibes at Jackson State all over, Neely, and I'm liking what seems to be coming there.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it, man. And people try to label or pigeonhole stuff or limit things like to nepotism. But the truth is, man, these guys are skilled at what they do. And why not keep it in the family? Why not keep it in the house? It was a beautiful thing, to have Coach Prime at Jackson State and his sons follow him there. And then have the same thing happen. And Shiloh, graduated from Jackson State. So he was a grad student here at CU, and they're still together. Shout out to Coach Mo Williams, another professional athlete, born and raised in Jackson, Mississippi, came home to coach at Jackson State and has now recruited his sons, who is not like he, recruited me to come play. Like, this is the number 2 guard in the state of Mississippi, and Mississippi is a basketball hotbed. So probably be a 4 or 5 star if his last name wasn't Williams. Same thing happened to Shador. He didn't get all the accolades he was due because of his family ties. But I'm looking forward to what Jackson State men's basketball is going to do. Got my same courtside season tickets that I didn't have for 20 plus years. So when this football season's over, where I'll be. I'll be at the AAC, cheering them on, man. Looking forward to that dynamic continuouses where professional athletes, former professional athletes, get the opportunity to coach, but they don't just stop there. They put their money where their mouth is and put the family in the business too by recruiting their own kids.
Good stuff. Love the direction that is going. I did have one football question, and we'll get out of here on. Kind of got sidetracked a couple of questions ago. But Michael Welch, do you think he's going to be the back moving forward? Do you think that they're going to still kind of rotate that thing around a little bit?
It's going to rotate around a little bit based on down and distance and who's got that rhythm going. And you also have to account for that Dallin Hayden is not going to be out long, and he's the more experienced back. So I'd imagine when you get 1 or 2 games from now, that the bulk of those carries will be Dallin Hayden / Michael Welch. Michael is dynamic. Michael brings a lot to the table. We also have to remember Michael is a freshman, and so he's going to have some growing pains he has to go through. So I would say Dallin Hayden and Michael Welch will be the primary backs going forward.
All right, MDJ Original is said he's going to send me an official CU hoodie. Just needs to know my size. XL all day, baby. XL. I've got my 50th coming up, Neely. I've been trying to lose a little bit of weight.
I see the miles, man. Well, I see the miles you lie about. You posted 9 miles this and 7 miles. I can't say that you actually did it. I'm just saying you took a selfie saying you did something. So I believe you, my brother. You look good, no matter what they say about your hoodie. I just say, man, you can't hide money.
Yeah, I know, man. They give me a hard time, but I'm trying to get it down. When I get it down to the right size, sometimes I can squeeze into a large. But right now I'm in that XL, and I have no shame about just getting up here and begging for stuff. I really don't. That's less money I have to spend on myself.
And I got to tell you, Tyler, I did not realize it till you put that hoodie on. Your hoodie and your hair are almost the same color.
There's nothing I can do about that. Well, maybe there is. But, Neely, can you imagine the slander that would happen if I showed up next week with a fresh coat of Just for Men or some Beijing and this thing was jet black out of nowhere?
I can't imagine, Tyler, because there have been people who've suggested it for my beard, and I was like, dog, it's I've been this too long. Do you know the stark contrast that'll be if I went to patent leather black on Monday morning?
Yeah, you'd have to ease into it, but I kind of like it. This latest haircut I got. Some of the people I work with, they said I had a young boy haircut. I kind of dig it. I'm cool with it.
It's got a good vibe to it, man. You get, I ain't gonna say get your swagger back, Tyler. You never lost your swagger, man. 50 is the new 30. Keep going, brother.
Look, you just got to accept it, right? Right, 50 years old. It's a blessing to still be here. And if I'm complaining about a little thin or a little gray, then I got my priorities mixed up. All right, Neely, where, in case we don't hit them again, I got a feeling we will hit the fans again this week, but where can you watch the game this week? What time? Saturday, homecoming, Colorado, and Baylor.
Well, before I answer that question, you absolutely will see us again this week. We're probably going to drop another Rewind Live. We also got the big boys coming. Tolly Carr, does the anchoring that with Coach Reed and I. Man, we might drop that one live. Who knows? But Saturday, where you can absolutely watch the Colorado Buffs take on Baylor here in Folsom Field, will be Fox Network. This is the fourth consecutive game, fourth consecutive week where Colorado football has been broadcast on prime time slot. So it's going to be about 5:30 Mountain, 7:30 in Atlanta on the East Coast, where you can check the game out on Fox Network.
All right, so for Uncle Neely, I am Tolly Carr in Atlanta. Neely, I'm just going to fade the black, and we're going to call this the show. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Got about 750 still hanging strong. We appreciate your support right here on the Pregame Show Network. Stay tuned with us all week long. More content is coming. It's homecoming week. Baylor on the schedule for Colorado. We will see you guys a little later. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, the rest of the week. We'll talk soon.